Everybody, welcome in. I hope you guys are having a good week so far. Thank you so much for letting me be a part of it. I've got a really fun project for you guys today, but before I get started, just a little of the housekeeping. My name's Sarah. I am a designer for Beadalon, and we also have Yvette here in the chat. She is with Beadalon as well. She's like our Beadalon ninja. She's in there going to be answering any of the Beadalon related questions for you guys. So take a second and say hi to her if you get a chance to do so. And yeah, we're going to be putting together a really fun pair of earrings. Now, I have a tendency, you guys, to make earrings on the big side. I'm always of the mindset that it's like go big or go home. However, it works for demonstration purposes and it works really well for me because that's just kind of my style. But any of the earring projects that you've seen from me in the past, and that includes today's project, you can always size these down because I do realize that not everybody likes huge earrings. That you can size them down, or you can always turn this into a pendant instead. More than anything, what I'm hoping that you will learn from today's class is just how to wire wrap onto a component, whether it's a component that we make together or it is a pre-made component, because then you can kind of look at components, any of them, in a whole new way and think about how you can add beads and sparkle to those. So that's the goal for today. I hope to inspire you, of course. Yeah, so let's get started, shall we? I'm going to turn you guys around. We're going to talk about materials, and then we're going to get right into it. I have a feeling this project is going to go by pretty quickly. So, oh gosh, I feel like we'll be able to do a little chat here. I can kind of take my time, except for the fact that I just dumped out all of my materials, which that's okay, right? That happens to everybody. It never fails when you go live. You really just don't ever know what's going to happen. I do need to round up these beads though, because I want to be sure that I have enough of them to complete this project now that they are in the floor. So for today's project, I'm going to be showing you the beads that I am using, but you can always switch this up. You don't have to use the exact same beads that I'm using. And that is the beauty of shopping at Michael's, because there is a bead color, a bead shape, a bead variety for just about any taste. And I decided to go with a mixture of black and a hematite color. These beads just do not want to stay in this little container today. Because I was thinking about New Year's, and I was thinking about things that, you know, are sparkly and pretty for parties for the holidays. I know some of us are actually getting to do a little bit of that this year where we didn't get to last year. But if the black and the silver is not really your style, you definitely can change this up. The drop beads come in a large variety of colors. So I know they have them in green and blue. And then of course, all of these can be changed up as well. In fact, the little metallic colored beads, I actually got those on a strand. If you guys have been with me before, you know, I love the cards that have the multi-strand beads on them. I find that they are one of the best buys that you can get at Michael's, because there are so many beads just on one little card, and you can use them for various projects. This one has the kind of hematite colored, kind of dark flashy silver ones, but then there are also like this muted gold color. There's a really cool kind of khaki color that's like a muted bronze, and then some more black here. So even if you just wanted to change up the silver for one of the others, you absolutely could do that. So that being said, here are the drops that I'm using. And again, these come in a wide variety of colors. I picked the black because you can't go wrong with black, right? It just seems so classy and always dressy with black. And then I'm also using these tiny little black beads. These are the ones that absolutely refuse to behave themselves. And that is always the truth when it comes to little beads. These little tiny faceted black beads that are now all over the floor. I'll probably have to grab some of these from the finished piece here to make ours, but that's all right, right? At least I have the sample for now to show you, and I'm okay with that. As far as materials are concerned, the other kinds of findings that you're going to need a head pin. I'm using a Beadalon head pin. I'm also using these really cool lever back ear wires, or lever back, depending on how you say it. These are super comfortable. You can get those in a pack of 6, and I'm using a 6mm jump ring. Those are it. That's it for the findings. The rest of this is going to be wire. So you're going to need a 5-inch piece of 18 gauge wire. I'm using German style wire for that. That's what we're going to make our component out of. Then you're going to need about 5 pieces of 24 gauge wire that are in about 4-inch pieces. Some of these you're going to use more, or almost all of that 4 inches, and some of them you're only going to use a little bit of it. So you will have some scraps for this, but the 24 gauge is also German style wire. However, I do find that you can do this part of the project where we use this size of the wire. You can do it with artistic wire as well. So if you don't have the German style, you can definitely do it with the artistic wire. A couple of other things: you're going to need your standard tools, but you're also going to need a block. You're going to need a hammer of some variety. I'm using a nylon hammer. You can use a rubber hammer. Okay. And you are also going to need some sort of mandrel that's going to give you about 27 millimeters. I'm using this plastic mandrel, but you can use anything that you've got laying around. Okay. If you've got like a prescription bottle, sometimes those really big permanent markers, the ones you make like yard sale signs with, anything that's going to give you a nice curved surface is going to be what you need. And then last but not least, you got to have a ruler, because we've got to be precise with a bend that we're going to make in the wire. So you definitely need to have a ruler handy. Don't eyeball it, because it will not work. You're definitely going to need to have something, okay, that you can measure with. All right, so let's get started. This project is pretty straightforward and I think going to go by pretty quickly. So let's get it going. We're going to start out here with our 5-inch piece of 18 gauge wire. Don't eyeball it. You've got to have that 5 inches. That's where that measurement that I was talking about is going to come in handy. You're definitely going to need to be precise. Okay. We're going to take our 5 inches of the 18 gauge wire and we are going to create this little shape here. So it's not quite a teardrop, just because it has more of a sharp angle at the bottom. It kind of looks like a leaf and could be used that way. Okay. So this is the actual component that we are going to make our earring out of. So I want to lay this wire onto my ruler. Okay. And you can see it comes right up here to the 5-inch mark. So I know that that's exact. What I want to do now is I want to come in with my pair of chain nose pliers, and I want to find the middle of that, which is going to be at 2.5 inches right here. But because of the surface area of the pliers, right, the tip of the pliers is, I don't know, maybe 2 millimeters at the most, depending on what kind of pliers you're using. We have to take that into consideration when we're making a bend in our wire. So we have to go over either to the left or to the right of that 2.5 millimeter mark, or 2.5 inch mark rather, and grab our wire over just a tiny bit. You can see how I'm grabbing it just right over from the side of that 2.5 mark. That's going to truly make the bend that I make happen at the 2.5 mark and not over on either side off because of the surface area of the tip of the pliers. I hope that made sense. So like I said, way more words than I needed to. But then you're just going to bend the wire, and that's going to give you a nice V shape right in the center of that wire. Okay. If you don't, and you grab it right at 2.5 inches and bend, it's going to be off. So you want to be sure that you get as close to the center as you possibly can and make that bend. Okay, so now we've got a really deep V in our piece of 18 gauge wire. We need to further shape this into a rounded kind of leaf shape. So we're going to get rid of the ruler. We're going to come in with whatever kind of mandrel that you're going to be using, and we're going to put this up against that surface. Now, keep in mind, we have that point. And that point, that bend that we made, is not going to lay flat against the surface of whatever kind of mandrel you're using. And that's okay. Don't push it down. You need to keep that point nice and straight. Then you're going to take the other 2 ends of the wire and you're just going to bend those around your mandrel. Oh, mine were way off. No, there we go. Okay. Bend that around. And then when you take it off of your mandrel, you have the shape that you're going for. Okay. Now, We need to put some loops on this, and you can actually do the loops ahead of time before you shape it if you want to. It really doesn't seem to make much difference, but we need to put 2 loops on either end of our wire. Then we're going to put it back on the mandrel just to make sure that we keep that nice shape. Okay, because once you're in there working with your fingers, you can heat up the wire, and it might you might lose that initial shape that you started with. I'm going to use my round nose pliers, and I want to note that my pliers have been marked with a permanent marker. That is to ensure that each loop that I make on either end of our wire is going to be exactly the same size, right? So I don't have to guess. I'm just going to place my wire in with my mark, okay? And I want the mark, I actually want the mark to be on the outside of my wire. Just kind of depends on what size loop you want to make, okay? So you can see the mark on my pliers, my wire is just right next to that. So it's not in the center of it, it's right next to it. I'm going to take the wire and I'm going to roll back to create a loop, okay? Now I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, using my same mark on my round nose pliers so that both loops I know are going to be basically the same size. Okay. Now, if you need to straighten them up a little bit, you can. You've got your 2 loops. What you want is when you're looking head on, when you're looking straight at your component, you don't want to see those loops. You can see how this one is you can see this one off to the side. So I'm going to come in with my chain nose pliers, and I'm just going to give it a slight little bend, just a little bit of a twist. That's going to make it more towards the back, right? So that loop is definitely facing away from me. Okay. All right, so now we have 2 loops on the end of our wire. I'm going to put this back on the mandrel, whatever you are using. And again, just going to kind of squeeze and make sure that I still have that nice shape. If you don't and you've knocked it out of shape, you can kind of smooth it with your fingers. Okay. Now to lock in this shape, because we don't want to lose this shape. And although our 18 gauge wire is sturdy and strong, we still need the extra insurance of work hardening. So we're going to take this and we're going to put it on our block, making sure that you keep the loops off to the edge of the block so that your main part of the component lays flat. And then we're going to use our hammer to work harden. And we want to make sure we do both sides. Okay, that's one side. I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to do the other side. Okay, and then you can check it. Okay, you want to test it. Just kind of give it a little twist in your fingers and you're going to tell there's a major difference between work hardened wire and wire that you haven't put on a block and hardened. It usually will stiffen up for you pretty quickly. You don't have to overdo it, but you definitely want to give it that extra insurance so that you're going to keep that nice shape. Okay. All right. So now I know it's not going to come out of shape in any major way. There may be a little bit of tugging and pulling as we wire wrap, but for the most part, I know that I'm going to keep that shape as I go, may kind of close in a little bit. That's okay too. Now what we're going to do is we're going to do the wire wrapping. We're going to do this in rows. And that's what all of those 24 gauge pieces of wire is all about. We're going to do 5 rows of beads and we're going to wire wrap them individually across the component, starting with the shortest little section here that's only 3 beads. Every time I make a project like this and I teach a class, somebody asks me, why am I not just using one continual piece of wire to wrap all of the rows? And you absolutely can do that if you want to, but something happens when you do that. When you do that, I want you to look at this from the side. You can see how all of my rows are consistent and they're towards the front, right? The beads are pushed towards the front of the component instead of being pushed towards the back. So when you look at it from the side, you're not really seeing the bottoms of those beads kind of scooting out towards the bottom. If you use a continual piece, what ends up happening is one row will be towards the top, and then you go to wrap, and the next row is going to be more towards the bottom. So what ends up happening is your beads kind of sit in this kind of zigzag fashion instead of all being consistent on the same side. Okay, so that's why I take the time to do the rows individually. I know it takes a little bit more time, but if you want it to be all uniform in shape, that's the way you got to do it. Okay, all right, so we're gonna get started with that. We are going to take one of our little pieces of 24 gauge wire, and we're going to anchor this wire to our component. Now, it doesn't matter which side you start on. I have a tendency to start on the right. I don't really know why I do it that way, but I just do. I will lay my 24 gauge wire across the surface of the component, and then I'm going to wire wrap, and I'm going to wire wrap about 3 times. And my wire wrap, my working wire, that's the long section here. I actually want that to be on the bottom of the wire wraps, and the wire wraps to be going towards the top instead of the other way. Okay, so I'm just going to wire wrap around the component about 3 times. Use your pliers if you need to straighten up all of those wraps. And you'll notice it's way up here. We actually need this to come down here, but that's fine because we can just slide it down, right? Now I'm going to come to the back, and I'm going to trim off that excess wire. I like to make those cuts on the back so that you don't see them. And now I'm going to thread on 3 of our little small black beads here. These beads, I believe, are a 3 millimeter. Pretty close. They are faceted and they are rondelles, so it's not an exact 3 millimeter bead, but for all intents and purposes, it's a 3 millimeter bead. Okay, now I want to kind of curve that wire a little bit. See how I'm making just a little bit of a curve out of those beads. Center it up. You want your center bead to be lined up with bend in your wire. And then you want to take the other side of your wire and wire wrap about 3 times. Okay, so you are definitely going to have leftovers. You'll have scraps with this one because we only added 3 beads. Come into the back. Go ahead and trim that off as close as you can get it to the wire. If you need to come in and pinch that tail end of the wire down with your pliers, you can do that. But we've finished our first row. It's that easy. We're just going to repeat that 4 more times, adding more beads as we go, as the component opens up and lends itself to more beads. Okay, so I'm going to take another piece of the 24 gauge wire, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to anchor the wire over on the right side, left side. It's up to you, makes no difference. Okay. I want the wire wraps to be going upwards towards the top of the component, just to keep everything consistent, right? There's a little bit of space here in between my wires, so I'm going to take my pliers and just kind of close those gaps. And I'm going to come to the back here, trim off the excess, and now I'm ready to add some more of those beads. I'm going to add 5 this time of the little black beads. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. And again, you have to guide the wire. Okay. It's not just going to do it itself. You kind of have to guide it into a little bit of an arch. Just think like you're making like rainbow arches with your beads, right? And if you're using different colors, you probably are making some really beautiful bead rainbows here. But line all that up. Make sure that your wire wraps are pretty close together. The spacing is good between your beads. Nobody's crowding each other out. And then you want to wire wrap. Okay, so again, going with your working end of your wire coming towards the top. I say that even though I'm holding like it upside down, you know what I mean? We're coming towards the top. So our wire started here and then the wraps are going upwards. Don't want to confuse anybody because I'm holding the component upside down. Just hold it however it makes sense to you. Okay, trim off the rest. And we've got 2 rows ready to go, right? So we're just going to keep going. The next row, I believe, has 7 beads in it. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yep. So we're going to do the same thing. We're just anchoring our wire on one side. That's about 3 wraps. Okay. That one wrap where I very first got started, can always squeeze it into place. Okay, slide that down. I'm going to come back here to the back, trim off the extra, and then we're going to add 7. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Okay. All right. Again, I'm going to guide that wire. Push your wire wraps down. Get them closer to your last wire wraps. Make sure your beads are filling up all the space. Don't leave any extra wiggle room in there, right? And then you want to wire wrap on the other side. Okay, and come to the back and trim off. All right, now we're going to do a row of the metallic beads. And the metallic beads are a little bit bigger than our faceted beads. So you can see here on our sample, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of those beautiful kind of metallic. Well, they're like rectangles, sort of. They're a funny shaped little bead, but we're going to use 6 of those. So there's 4, 5, 6. Okay, same thing. I'm just going to anchor our wire. Like a cube. Yeah, they're very similar. They're kind of a funny shape because it's like it's almost a rondelle, but then it has all the flat surfaces on it. It's a cute little bead. I have no idea what you call that officially. Okay, I'm going to trim off. Slide the wire wraps down. Add on our beads. Okay. Guide the beads into that little, it's just a very slight curve here, right? Just a really slight curve. And then wire wrap on the other side. Okay, to the back, trim off. We've only got 1 more row of our beads, and this is the row where I'm missing a few because the floor carpet has eaten them. Bring in as many as I have here, and then we may have to borrow some from our sample. So I've got 6. Let's see how many there are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We are going to borrow from our sample. So we'll have a full set of earrings at the end of this, but always go back and make the other one, right? All right, so last row, we're going to anchor the wire. Let's go ahead and wire wrap. Oops. straighten up that wire a little bit. Okay, everything just like that. I'm going to come back here to the back and trim that off. All right, and now we're ready to slide this down and add our last little row of beads. We're getting close. We're not quite done yet, but we're almost there. Okay. Now don't ever assume that that's the exact amount of beads. A lot of things are gonna come into play. If you're using different sized beads, using different shaped beads, just because I put 10 in that row doesn't mean that you'll put 10 in that row unless you're using the exact same beads here and are doing the exact same measurement. Okay. So we're going to anchor our last row by wire wrapping it over here on the other end. And that is complete. Just going to tidy that up by squeezing it with my pliers and coming to the back to trim off the excess. All right, so now we have our beautiful rows of our beads. Now, that being said, you could, if you wanted to, right? We're finished with our rows, but if you wanted to, you could fill up the entire component with rows of beads, right? You're going to add more the next row or two, and then you're going to start doing a smaller amount as the component makes its way back down to a point again. So potentially you could fill this up, you could make all kinds of rainbows, but not only that, you can do this exact same technique on any shape, right? We've done a really cool kind of pointy leaf shape here, but you could do this on a circle, you could do this on a pre-made component of any shape. And I really feel like if you take the time to do the rows individually, they're all going to be consistent in where they're sitting. Their placement on the component is all going to be the same. And I feel like the overall look just looks a little bit more finished. So yeah, all you got to do is just start filling your little pieces of wire up with all of your favorite beads. You could mix this up. You could do, you know, seed beads if you wanted to. You could do really big beads. You could put some really big gemstones in here if you wanted. Okay. All right. So that is the beginning of our projects, actually the beginning of the end, because we're pretty close here to being finished. The next thing we're going to do is we need to have a little dangle in the middle because I always have to have some dangle elements to my jewelry pieces. So I'm going to take a little bit larger of a black faceted round bead here, and I'm going to put that onto a head pin, and I'm going to do a wire wrapped loop on this. So I'm going to thread that on just like so. I'm going to come in with my chain nose pliers. I'm going to walk you through the wrapped loop. Okay, so I'm grabbing the wire right where it is exiting out of the bead. And I'm going to bend the wire over the top of the pliers instead of bending the wire just right after it exits the bead. That way, when I take my pliers away, I've got a little bit of room here. That's the perfect amount of room for your wire wraps. You don't have to do any measuring or anything. You let the tools do the measuring for you. Okay, now we're going to come in with our round nose pliers. We're going to place them with the wire running between them, just like so. I'm going to take the wire and I'm going to go up and over the top barrel of the pliers. So notice I'm just moving the wire. I didn't move the tool at all. Okay, just up and over. And that's going to give us this kind of funny looking little shape, but it's not a loop yet, right? We couldn't take the wire all the way over because the bottom barrel of the pliers is in the way. So in order to be able to take the wire over, we're just going to rotate the pliers. I didn't take the wire away from the tool. All I did was just move that bottom barrel to now the top barrel so that I can guide the wire over to close up our loop, right? And I still have the space in between our loop and the top of the bead to do our wire wraps. So back on the tool it goes. I'm going to switch hands and I'm going to do just that. Whoops. Oh, my head pin broke. Let's get another one. I'm a little forceful today. My beads are jumping all over the place. My head pin. to be a little more gentle. Start again, bending the wire. It's all right, right? Doesn't hurt to see it a second time. Round nose pliers, up and over. Rotate the wire, take the wire over to the other side. And this time we're going to gently wire wrap between the loop and the top of the bead, right? We have ourselves a wire wrapped loop, and we're going to come in and trim off the excess wire. And if you have a little bit of wire sticking out, you can see there's a little tiny piece of wire. Come in with your pliers, just give it a little squeeze to tuck it in there so that it doesn't get hung on your clothing or caught in your hair. Okay. All right. Now we're going to take a 6mm jump ring. I'm going to put that between two pairs of pliers here. And I'm just going to twist to open my jump ring. I'm going to thread on our newly created little dangle. And I'm going to thread that on between the two loops on our component, right? And before I close that, I'm going to go ahead and thread on my ear wire so I don't have to open and close it. And I'm going to close that back. We only have one more thing to do, and then our earring will be complete. Now, it looks great just like it is, right? You don't have to add anything extra to this if you don't want to, but I'm gonna, because I love these faceted teardrop beads. So I'm actually gonna attach this to the bottom. Now, the faceted teardrop beads that come on these chains, they already have a bead cap and a loop at the top of them. So I'm gonna leave it just as it is. And I'm going to very gently with my chain nose pliers open up that loop. And I'm going to thread it on to the bottom. You see that little space between the bend in our wire and that first row of beads. I'm going to thread that on, use my chain nose pliers to close that back. And that's it. We're done. You've got a great pair of party earrings. They're so fun. Now, remember what I said at the beginning of the class. In case you missed it or you came in late, I realize this is a very large earring. And for those of us that love large earrings, that's perfect. But for those of you that this is maybe just a little bit too much, that's okay. This initial 5-inch cut of 18 gauge wire, you can size that down. Size it down to maybe 3 inches and make your component a little bit smaller. And if you want to leave out the dangles, you can. You definitely can adjust this to fit the kind of size that you want. You definitely don't have to put the bend in it. You can just make it a circle. A lot of different options here, but the techniques are basically going to be the same, right? You're going to cut your wire ahead of time. You're going to do your loops, shape your wire, do your wire wraps across there, or if you've got a pre-made component, you don't even have to do any of the rest of that, right? Also, if you feel like this is just way too big for an earring, but you love the look of it, put it on a piece of chain, put it on a beautiful piece of leather, or bead an entire necklace around it and let it be a wonderful pendant. I'm going to turn you around and show you what they look like on, and then I'm going to let you guys go for the day. They always look a little bit different when you have them on as opposed to, I want you to fall. Oh, it feels like a Monday. They always look different on than they do laying flat. So give you just a little look at what they look like. I only have the one at the moment, but I definitely feel like that's a great, it's a New Year's Eve party earring, right? Or a holiday party earring, or just an everyday earring. I would most definitely wear these with my blue jeans. I have no problem wearing my sparkle with my jeans. So super, super cute, can be made smaller, can be adjusted, change the size, change the shape, change the colors of the beads. And you've got a really fun pair of earrings or a great pendant, right? All right, guys, I hope you have enjoyed today's class. I know I did. It was a lot of fun. And I'll be back with you guys very soon with another fun class. Don't forget to check out all of the other kinds of classes that are available at Michael's, not just the jewelry making classes, but you can learn how to paint, you can learn how to sew, you can learn how to do just about anything. And also this video will be available on the YouTube channel here in about 24 to 48 hours. So you can go and watch it on repeat if you would like to. Thank you guys so much for joining me and letting me be a part of your Wednesday. And I will see you guys again soon. Bye, guys.